jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's the jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Thank you for joining us, Tom.
My pleasure.
Tommy, start making Who references.
Tommy, can you hear me?
I can't see why not. And I love how it'll always give the disclaimer saying, tell everyone you're recording to avoid a legal snag. I'm like, I think everyone knows what they're in for.
I am the legal snag.
Right. Yeah, it's not like I'm recording a random meeting at work. Okay, so joining us for the insanity is My Horrific Life and blogger Erica Wright.
Thanks for having me on. I'm very delighted since I'm a big fan of Andrew Divoff, and I've also known him for the last 7 years.
Yep.
So excited for this discussion.
Erica has also worked on a few different Giallo experimental horror films, so another filmmaker to add to the conversation. And we got Jonathan Mark of the Action and Movie Elite. How are you?
I'm good.
And then we got Tom Lindaman, a well-known person in the Misty community.
Greetings and hallucinations, everybody.
Hallucinations. Whew. Okay, and I think so. I'll just circle around to Erica first. What just made this actor Andrew Divoff kind of just a go-to B actor who you just would see in his movies, and you're just like, I gotta see other stuff that this guy has done. There's just someone that's leaving a positive impression on me.
I think my first introduction to his work wasn't actually through one of his films. It was through an interview in Fangoria magazine back around the time Wishmaster came out.
Oh, nice.
And it just seemed like this incredibly intelligent person, and they mentioned that he's fluent in 7 different languages. So I thought, dang, this guy just sounds like a really cool person. I've got to watch this movie. So then having seen Wishmaster, I became a fan of Andrew's acting, although had some mixed feelings about Wishmaster itself. That's a whole other issue, but
Yep. For the rest of you, you can listen to our takedown on that whole saga. But yeah, it was definitely one of those. Around the time you could look up people in IMDb, they would almost always have some kind of Yahoo group or GeoCities kind of fan page, and he was no exception. I remember someone did a write down on him from knowing him at conventions, and he was fortunate enough. I did plenty of TV, but it was always interesting. He was also, he was part of the Full Moon craze, then he was part of a bunch of different blockbusters that everyone saw being the bad guy, and then, everyone also made a deal, hey, you fought Harrison Ford on screen twice, when does that happen? And then it was interesting how he did the whole, aside from doing some indie horror and action and even crime movies with Fred Williamson, I think it was more interesting how he also got a chance to be on various syndicated shows and even be in the two-parters. So he basically had recurring roles, and so it was like, okay, he didn't just need Carlton Cuse to, get him to guest star on his hit show the whatever year. He also had plenty of other people who would look for him. So, John, I'll let you weigh in. What made you kind of recognize Divoff? Were I had college. Did you have any other source besides just diving into various cult movies at the stores?
Well, for me, I was in high school watching Another 40 Hours for the first time.
Oh, okay. Even earlier.
Yeah, that's what introduced me to him, and then we go, I have to check out the rest of this guy's stuff, because he actually quite impressed me in that role.
Right, James Remar's brother.
Mhm.
Oh, man. Ruthless biker. Tom, you're a movie connoisseur. When did you start recognize that there was this half Russian, half Venezuelan bad guy who was going around doing some martial arts and just still in the show as a bad guy regardless of the movie?
Well, I have to be honest. I'm a big fan of the Full Moon Pictures. So, because naturally, as a B movie connoisseur, I look for those things that really just help me differentiate between B actor one, B actor two. Having a martial artist, half Russian, half Venezuelan, that's enough to get me interested.
Right. You like quirky kind of origin story to a cult filmmaker or actor, so.
Yep, and by the same token, I'm also a big fan of martial arts movies, especially bad martial arts movies.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Andrew had trained off and on for a decade with Chuck Norris.
Really?
Yeah, he
Really?
trained at Chuck Norris's school studying Taekwondo.
I can see that now. It's like, so Chuck, what would you like me to do? Oh, I need you to go this way or that way. My son Eric can figure it out for you. No. What would you wish me to do? Yeah, he's had his share, just being on various movies and shows. I buy it. He's always very natural in the fight. Even in Air Force One, he's barely doubled. And it's just kind of interesting to see I think I like that fierce unpredictability of them all. He's even played like different types of, obviously he played different types of villains, but he was interesting in that, yeah, he fell into different categories. He would do the bikers, like we mentioned earlier. He would do the terrorists or soldier elites, during a rebellion. And then he would even do people doing kind of war crimes or smuggling, trafficking, stuff like that. And it was kind of just interesting just seeing him only on occasion kind of do the kingpin role.
And then the odd pirate phase, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, definitely plenty of, even jokingly, repeatedly playing people named Blackbeard. I don't know why, but some people saw him just as a pirate, and it was interesting there because it's like, wow, I didn't know you had it in you, but man, this is more than community theater. This is great. So, in no order, I'm going to mention a movie that he's said multiple times would have made his mother proud had she lived to see it. Toy Soldiers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite of his feature.
Don't touch the wires. Don't touch the wires.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the ones I think actually was the first one my mother saw him in. But yeah, it was interesting. Just I think with this one, it's just instead of like all the Dog Day Afternoon or Die Hard type in a school type movies, what made it better than just being another knockoff was it really is kind of suspenseful. It's interesting seeing the twist they add, how one of the rich dads has mafia connections and tries to interfere with the whole hostage crisis, or some other Interesting subplots. It was interesting seeing Will Wheaton off of Star Trek and Stand By Me try and do something dramatic. Sean Astin got to carry the movie a bit, and this was early in his career. And I really do like some of the different terrorists here, the bomb maker, and Divoff is just very reserved to where you almost feel like it's like, am I watching a documentary? Oh my god, he's just very freaky to me.
At least until he gets unhinged near the end.
Yeah, and I'm sure he studied a documentary on terrorists or read up on them, because I mean that is kind of what they do. We like to play it up as, I'm gonna bomb you, and it's like willing to die now, and it's like, well, it depends on the terrorists, and I'm sure many of them would be calm. They let everyone else be their body shield first, and then when things are getting heated, they just pull out all the stops.
Yeah, and really that's what you look for in a good movie villain, especially B movie villain. Somebody who can play that cool type. Somebody who does stand out, whether it's a kingpin or whether it's a lackey. The one I can think of off the top of my head, the only thing I can kind of compare it to is Robert Zadar from the first Samurai Cop. He was cool.
Man. Well, it is kind of fun how, Zadar had a lot of independent direct-to-video movies, and everyone only knew him as, isn't he the guy from Maniac Cop and Tango and Cash? But Divoff's been fortunate enough to have a bit of TV and other independent entries, and he's definitely would be in my top 10 B-movie actors of the 90s and 2000s, because, I mean, with this one, he definitely did some studying, and the movie does a good job of never being dull. You're not waiting for someone to just get shot when he's just channeling around looking for who has, access to the labs and all that. And you feel like it could happen on the 6 o'clock news. It'd be a total shit show. So I'll leap into the gin before we just keep making jokes about him. What is it about the Wishmaster character that's welcomes mischievous fun? I mean, we talked about it before, but I mean, I still can't see anyone else in this role. I'm sure there's plenty of other perfectly available actors, but no one attempting an Egyptian accent or, I mean, anything this dynamic, and just saying as you wish multiple different ways. Whether that was in the script or not, I don't know, but it was just interesting how he pretty much had to ratchet it up and stage his entrance and exits in between all the various kills or captures or harassing of various people.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Andrew is the best part of that movie. His performance it's very over the top, but it's so much fun to watch. And also, like, the concept of the movie is cool. I kind of wish sometimes it were, like, I don't know, a little more serious with its own material.
Yeah,
but I like that whole like Keith Paw, twisted wish kind of scenario. It's really neat, I think.
Yeah, it's true, and I mean it's rare for the '90s for a guy who's basically a stalker or most wanted easily kind of guy. There's really a genie underneath it all. I mean, he doesn't get demasked, so to speak, too early in the movie. He has a high body count to moves, and there's diversity to each of the kills. But I think what it's really cool, refreshing to see is, even though he's a bad guy, he's not even necessarily a creep. He's not preying on innocent people for the hell of it. He's just kind of to him, it's just second nature. It's like, I'm going to give you a wish, but it has consequences, because that's kind of funny to me. And he's not a rapist. He's not anything else. He's just, he got trapped, and so he just feels like, okay, the world's my oyster now, because I got to live in a little box, a little ruby. Decades, centuries, and even, I'll let John or Tom weigh in if they haven't, and on Andrew, and I'll let Erica pick her first role. So I mean, you guys saw Wishmaster in the theater or on home video? Or...
Well, for me, it was home video. That was.
I don't think it lasted
almost...
long, but it definitely made its budget back, and it was one of the highest grossing indie films that year. So I mean,
that's true.
I would have been interested in seeing that in the theater.
I would have had a good time with that, obviously.
I could hear the metal in credits now.
Yeah.
So, Erica, what's a role number 3 that you just think is ideal to introducing fans of this?
Yeah, it's definitely more of a time commitment, but if we're expanding to television roles, I think
Absolutely.
I think Lost is one of his most important roles.
Yeah.
His role is Mikhail Bakunin, rather.
As the other pirate, modern day pirate, so to speak. Yeah, just making everyone's life a bigger gold mine, so to speak, by just misleading them, getting in the way of their friends, knowing even dispatching a few of them in very brutal ways, and having a submarine. So it's like once you add him, I was distracted by all the other wacky subplots, but he was kind of the more layered storyline, and yeah, he definitely enjoyed shooting that in Hawaii.
Yeah, he did.
I know you're definitely not alone. I know there are some people, like, when they saw Lost, that was their intro to him. So it's definitely interesting how Carlton Cuse had used him as a guest star villain on various other shows, and this time he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a recurring role.
Yeah, and apparently that Enter 77 episode was supposed to be his only episode other than that previous one where he just has a brief appearance at the end of the show. I can't remember the name of that one, but he was supposed to be written out after that, but he became such a fan favorite that they just kept bringing him back, even though it looked like he should have been, dead from the injuries he suffers.
Yeah. Well, don't let a good thing go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very cool. John, I guess what's a role you want to mention off of here?
Was another one where he played a villain that I also found sort of interesting, because for the most part, he plays it straight in this type of film, and that's a little down dirty shame.
I was going to mention that too. Yeah. And I definitely had black friends who knew him specifically from that movie because, they watched it all the time. It was making fun of blaxploitation films. Much like Black Dynamite did years later. And Damon Wayans was becoming a tough Shaft type guy. Who would have thought? And Divoff's entrance where he does that whole, hey man, you don't look so good, after he's been just knocked him out. He's smoking over his unconscious body. I'm like, good God. We haven't even gotten to the over the top part, and I think what's even more amusing is he's not even the main bad guy. You think he is. He's more like the tertiary character because there's two other crooked feds, and I did see this movie a few years ago, and it's definitely a gem, and it wasn't easy for me to get into at first because it was one of those movies, whatever channel I saw it on, it was really poorly edited, and it's not including the language. It's just, for some reason, they clearly omitted a bunch of stuff, and so because it's a slow burn, kind of gotcha. I was just like, I'm trying to find something good about this movie, and I'm not seeing it. And then I just revisited it. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing people constantly mention this one, and I do love Andrew, so I gotta rewatch this. And glad they did. I don't think anyone will really get too offended by it. Even, I mean, it's just a kind of just it's just very organized with the tropes of the genre it's making fun of. The cast all has really good comedic timing, especially Jada Pinkett with Keenery Ivory Wayans, and I guess you could say it's just slick. And this was during the time when a lot of parodies were backfiring. It's like they weren't balancing out the tone very well with the stuff they were making fun of, and it's done before you know it. And I did not notice too many slow moments in my last watching of it. So I mean,
No, it moves at a pretty quick pace, and it certainly delivers on the action when it's there, particularly in the finale.
the valley, even it ends in a mall.
Yeah.
Very twisted too, because it's like everybody's getting played, and instead of just resorting to Tarantino kind of things, it's like it's funny seeing Andrew kind of, I wouldn't say becoming wimpified, but it's just so funny. He starts using body shields. He's like, "Oh, you're not gonna shoot for your leading lady." It's just like just do other kind of just playful stuff. Want the suitcase? And, I mean, a car gets crashed in that mall too, so I mean that's good stuff. And they do get out, I think, in the main water fountain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they do.
And he gets a few witty lines there too, as he's evading the punches or taking them, and that's kind of adds to the fun of it, as opposed to just what we're all going to see, which is just people getting killed at the end. And it's just a good precursor to Black Dynamite. So, Tom, I'll let you mention a role.
Well, this isn't the first one I saw him in, but it's one that is the most recent one I've seen him in a cinematic classic that you know as Mac and Me.
God.
Oh my.
I even know he was in that.
You do know we're ranking this on their best roles, right?
Yes, I do.
God. Wow.
But this plays into my wheelhouse because as a fan of B movies, and especially Mr. Science Theater 3000, that was one of those that was involved in the Gauntlet that they had most recently. And for me, it's almost like you're looking at a jeweler's cloth sometimes. You have to find the imperfections in the movie, but then occasionally you'll have somebody who pops out. In this case, I thought he played a minor role, but I do think he was one of the only bright spots in there. And you have to look at from this perspective of the rest of the cast, the rest of the movie, everything, the special effects, the script, the whole everything else. That was the jeweler's cloth to let this man shine through.
Wow.
Okay, then.
Oh man. So I'm going to mention, and obviously we're going to mention over 10. But yeah, we'll do some honorable stuff. His appearance as Blackbeard on Briscoe County Jr.
Yes.
Just rewatching it, he's having to do so much, survive a quicksand duel and all that, and he really does get some very amusing lines. There's like, "If this wasn't what you asked for, then why'd you come here?" Stuff like that. And it's a really wild movie where it's like everyone gets tricked to come to the island as part of a believed ransom. It's all these other unlikely heroes trying to save the title character's friend, and then the title character getting captured. So it was only like the 5th episode, and they were really having to change the stakes on a daily basis. The DVD features are great just because of the extra info by Bruce Campbell and company, but it's also even just better in terms of just, shows get good when, they just take a chance, and they were definitely taking even more chances here than even in the Explosive pilot, where they just were just like, let's just keep mixing it up. Let's keep impacting some of the storyline, having the characters question where they're going to stay part of this Indiana Jones type cowboy duo. And he definitely puts up a hell of a fight, and that's even before, he doesn't even really rely too much on his pirate band, even though, they got a giant cannon on a wagon and all that other stuff. You got cowboys with pirates. That's kind of, who thinks of that? That's awesome. And he has one hell of a fight. He swings that sword like, I don't know if he was a trained swordsman or dancer, a little in between, but man, that looked real good on my small screen portable.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyone else? I know you've seen it, Erica. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Seen it?
I do remember that. That is a fun episode. As far as things that maybe honorable mentions, it's one that people haven't seen a whole lot of, but Killers in the House.
Yes.
I think it was a USA TV movie.
It was so good.
Yeah, his acting in that is phenomenal, and it's. I still think the story holds up. I mean, especially for circa 1997 television.
Yeah,
Ewan
Kruger.
It's pretty good.
Yep. Ian Kruger did plenty of Dog Day Afternoon, Die Hard type movies like Arlington Road and Reindeer Games, and this is one of his earliest screen credits. It's kind of, I like how it's not very reliant on music, and you don't really even know what you're getting because, it's just these psychos coming into town, shoot up a shop, and then take the bus and just find the nearest house they can rob. And it's got Barney Miller himself, Hal Linden in there briefly, and again, Mario Van Peebles has a lot to play off of Andrew, so that's kind of cool seeing that cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Two B-movie favorites.
Yeah, and also the fact that I like the fact that the bad guys are these white collar banker types.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
holding this black family hostage because they think there's something of value in this this architect's home that the black family inherited, and it's just
Absolutely. There's
I
so much
love-
layering.
yeah. So that's a really fun movie, and if you can get a hold of a copy, I recommend that.
Yeah, if you're still playing cult movies for VHS, I mean, just seek it out unless you got a Region 2 DVD you can snatch up. I saw most of his movies through Rapid Share back when that was a thing. So, I mean, I remember about a year ago we were making jokes about LimeWire and all that other stuff. It's like, oh man, those were the days.
Oh wow, takes me back.
It was
Don't
fun.
worry, kids. All our downloads were legal.
Legal. Oh man. So, John, what's another role that just kicked ass?
Well, since I had mentioned it earlier, I guess I'll finish up my villains with another 48 hours. That's
Yeah.
one that introduced me to him.
For sure. I mean, I think he said in an interview he loved working with Eddie Murphy here because Eddie was just making everyone guffaw on set.
Well, I'm sure.
And
Well, he was back in the day.
I know Eddie didn't really want to do this sequel midway through, but it holds up way better than some of the lesser Beverly Hills Cop movies or even what he did afterwards, and I made the mistake when I initially saw these movies of seeing them in some kind of edited format. And so it's like, you just can't edit these movies. You're going to miss all the dialogue and other subtext and racial commentary. It's just rewatching them about a few years back, I was like, man, these guys in the bar, they're basically Trump supremacists. It's like, oh, man.
Oh man.
And the final fight there is kind of wild because it's not only the second bar fight, they start the bar pursuits earlier and then they go to another bar that they're wreaking havoc at. And I can forgive the movie for having knocking out Brian James's random plot twist because apparently he had more screen time and they just cut it down because they wanted to do some wacky repeats of the original while poking fun of, hey, you got to do it again to make everything right. You got to shoot Eddie to also injure the villain.
But it's also
Uh,
to compete with the summer season. That's why they cut some of that out.
I'm not
The runtime.
surprised. At least Walter Hill came back and still had some fun Western type moments.
True.
It definitely holds better, in my opinion, than some of the Lethal Weapon movies because it doesn't go on too long, and even though some of the humor isn't as funny as the first, it's still just like a really fun time, and the villains really are scene stealing, especially when they're ambushing Eddie on the prison bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes this scenario get even more chaotic. It's like they try and kill him, then they get chased away. It's just so funny. I forget what other actor was playing his other right hand. He was another one who was seen in movies like The Crow and other stuff, and he's and he's like, no, let's go, as they're hearing the sirens, they're trying to kill Eddie, the witness.
Mhm.
There's some like fun Andrew backstories about that movie. One being that he was hanging out with his friend William Forsythe in Berlin when he got the call that he got that part of Cherry
Wow.
Gans,
I forgot
and
that
it was the same week that the Berlin Wall came down. So
Oh,
Andrew and William got drinks at the pub and then went to the wall and were taking sledgehammers to it. So they were part of that
Nice.
scene.
Yeah. Early 90s, they were a big leap for him. He was done being the just the drive-in movie actor or the guest star of the week anymore. Now at that point, he was actually acting full time. Toy Soldiers had gotten him some attention. He was doing Full Moon stuff around the same time, and he just was giving up the valet business by that point.
Mm-hmm. And then, the other thing with that another 48 Hours film, they said, like a prerequisite for this is you have to be able to ride a motorcycle. You can do that, right? Oh yeah, of course. And thinking that he'll have time to learn from someone, they're like, okay, we got motorcycles right now. You want to jump on and show us what you can do?
Oh my
He
god!
was just
Wow.
praying that,
I don't know how you
Praying
even
that
bullshit your way
turn.
into that. Man, he must have just been confident, like, hey, it's like riding a horse.
Oh, he says he cannot handle horses.
Oh wow!
I know all kinds of obscure Andrew Divoff trivia just from having known him for the last 7 years and working for him. But his sister runs a horse sanctuary or horse rescue in Guatemala. But
Nice.
Andrew says he's never felt comfortable around horses. So movies where he had to ride horses, it was very anxiety provoking, I guess.
I can't blame him. In between junior high, I did a horse school 1 year, and I was just very annoyed. It just wasn't exciting or fun like the movies.
Sometimes it is a little anxiety provoking. Like I thought it'd be fun to take horse riding lessons, and I got thrown off multiple times.
Oh no!
Fortunately, thanks to training in judo, I knew how to fall properly. But if I didn't, I probably would have had some broken bones from that experience. So
If you ever do a movie, judo warrior sounds way cooler than horse rider.
oh, no.
Man, I'm sorry you had to take a fall. Jeez. That's... Oh man. So, Tom, what's another role you can think of? Gonna get some Oblivion jokes or something, or
funny you should mention that because that was going to be my next one. I went. Mac and Me was so bad it was horrible, but you could make fun of it. But Oblivion to me was campy to a point where it became endearing.
It's supposed to be, but yeah, it is kind of wacky.
They do the space western, which is a trope that they've done a million times over. But with Oblivion, you have enough mixture of people, like from Star Trek. You have Julie Newmar in there, and you have some people. Playing Miss Kitty.
Yeah.
But what really makes Oblivion such a good movie for me is the fact that it doesn't just lay on that superficial level of, okay, we're going to have it in space, but it's going to be a Western, and we're going to see if the two can get along. They actually went very far with this to make it a movie that had connections. They made connections with people like me who are old, who watch television, old bad movies, and with a new group of people coming in that really made the chemistry work. I cannot say enough about the way the movie really didn't. It's almost like saying that I would almost like to say that maybe Josh Whedon picked up a thing or two for Firefly from watching Oblivion. Because the elements are there, but otherwise, yeah, Oblivion is one of my favorite bad movies of all time. Not even joking.
Yeah, it even became part of Riff Tracks. I was only able to rewatch it earlier this year as part of the Elvira 13 Nights of Halloween horror. That was fun. I think it's also cool seeing appearance by Meg Foster from They Live.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anyone else have just thoughts the way in? I mean, it is cool to see him play another character that he got to replay twice.
Yeah, I thought Oblivion was a lot of fun. I thought Oblivion 2 fell a little flat, but the first
makeup
one,
especially. But
yeah, the
I
first
was just
one
glad to see him
pretty
back.
awesome.
Yep, for sure. John, have you seen this, or it is?
No, I've heard of Oblivion. I've just never seen any of them, actually.
Yeah, I remember not being the most impressed at first, but yet kind of had that innocent, fun kind of appeal to it. And yeah, after rewatching this, I mean, everyone pretty much just chews it up and has fun with it because I mean, it's just a simple movie, and
Yeah.
he works with a few other B movie people. Whatever happened to Masata Vander?
Oh yeah, she was so great in that movie too. But yeah, I haven't looked into what she's done since then.
She lets out a lot of unexpected, just very risque lines. I'm like, whoa, damn. Okay. And Andrew is just playing around with the makeup, and so I guess you could say it was a good warm up for his later makeup heavy roles. And yeah, I mean, it really is a fun movie, and if you're going to be introduced to Full Moon, and I mean, it was even more interesting how it was a stepping stone for them because they got someone who had been mentored by Brian De Palma, and he was able to give it a limited screening back on like San Francisco. So
Interesting.
yeah, I read that it came from the Video Isles, which does a history of these Full Moon pictures, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be plenty of other stuff that we bring up.
Oh man.
So yeah, I'll bring up the Nash Bridges episode, the first one he did. Around season 3, and he really does play a very, I mean, he plays another military robber later on, but this one, I mean, he's playing a total jarhead who is just very unstable, going around sniping people he hates. And even though this is often a fun show, I mean, damn, he's probably
that's dark.
It's a very dark episode, and even his profile, the different mugshots they had to do to change up his hair. At first, he looks like a Nickelback metal band reject, and then next, he's pulling out all the stops and that sniper rifle out and chanting some kind of cliche Marine line that really you could actually see someone like that probably saying. It kind of brings back haunting memories of that one Kent State shooting. It's just
yeah, no kidding.
It was like, damn. And I think I'll spoil it. Doesn't he blow his brains out in the elevator or something?
I think so, man. It's been such a long time since I've
Nah.
seen that episode, but that sounds about right.
Not non-graphic for this kind of show, but it's definitely fun seeing the show kind of change up and have more deadly forces instead of be goofy like Walker Texas Ranger.
Totally.
Oh, so I'll let Erica jump in.
So let's see. Although speaking of Walker Texas Ranger, I do like. I know it seems cringy, but I do like his appearance.
I saw every episode.
He was in 3 different episodes of that show as different characters, and it's like they think we're not going to notice that he's played misogynistic drug lord, on the same show 3 different times, but they're 3 different characters. It's just like, okay.
The only difference is one of them gets to be like a brief recurring role, and he gets to have his boat blown up, and it's the same arc that has Michael Ironside in there.
Yeah, right.
It's just so wild. He doesn't even expect his. He really does chew through it, and that says a lot because there was never anything to those villain roles. He's just having fun in it. It's like it's not even a job at that point. He was like, "Yep, we're getting in position and we're having some fun, telling stories in between setups."
True.
And I thought I would have fun with the new version of Walker they did. So far, I'm having the same kind of moot reaction as I did with Magnum, where it's just like, okay, so you got the supernatural guys, and you're doing nothing with them. You got no explosions whatsoever. It's a ranching drama. Oh, big mistake. That's
disappointing.
Yeah, I want to see just outrageousness, like Walker said I had AIDS or some shit like that. The Conan O'Brien type moments where pull the lever and nothing so far, and very confusing acting. Just not as bad as some of those CW superhero shows, but still, just like I don't. Did they just do this? And the directors on set didn't tell them what they wanted to do. The directors just want to get the episode over and done with because they had better stuff to do. Because I was looking at that too. I was looking at some of the writers and directors. I'm like, why would they do a show like this? I just wasn't that. They were people doing anthology or brutal, unrelenting mystery type stuff. I was like, man, they're doing this? Okay. Well, check's a paycheck up in Austin. Oh, yeah. Andrew has a bunch of stuff with the Norris clan, and so it's interesting seeing how he just kind of just pops up when he's not.
Yeah.
And one of them, I don't know if I would mention it on here, but you definitely got to see it for him and Fred Williamson. Is called Rage Within.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything
the hammer is in, I'm down.
It's pretty sloppy, especially when Fred at the end sets some people on fire via shotgun blast, and he's like, "Burn, motherfucker, burn!" But it's just so wild because it's like, I think it's Mike Norris or somebody, Eric Norris, I think, who's directed and co-wrote it, and he dies in like the very opening. It's like, okay, I didn't see that coming, but yeah, the rest of it is basically a lesser Walker Texas Ranger samurai cop type outing where it's just like nothing really to it at all, but just seeing this shit is gonna give you plenty of belly aching laughs. But it was just interesting for Fred because he was basically he'd already played this character Detective Dakota Smith and a bunch of other movies, a few others that also had Andrew, and you can definitely think of that one, but yeah, that's just an honorable mention. I'll let John.
There's so many I feel that need honorable mentions. Like Running Cool was one of the few movies. Good guy. And he was a romantic lead, so that was like different.
And he was a good biker, he's just.
I know, right?
But that's what was interesting. Is that was an interesting independent film. It later got a DVD director's cut after Paramount dropped that label of it, and I think he did say that's one of his favorite roles because he actually had bikers who had seen that movie and said, "Hey, you really captured us."
Yeah, that's cool. I guess it was a movie directed by bikers, made for bikers.
But before you say, what's refreshing though is there isn't any assault or any, mistreatment of women or anything. It's just kind of more of a Easy Rider kind of movie instead of a Duck Dynasty type shit fest.
Yeah, it's more of a feel good kind of thing. Yeah, it doesn't have the dripping misogyny of some of the other biker films.
Or just someone starting shit up, and you're like, okay, what does this have to do with anything? Of course, someone's gonna get shot in the head because one of them has to be a thug. This one is more interesting because he's it's also kind of does a fun homage to town bully type westerns. Like I knew all that, and he does get a pretty cool fight scene with the guy. I was surprised what sexual chemistry he had with the other lead. I was like, wow, okay, I never seen that kind of role. The like 48 Hours, it does have one hell of a rock soundtrack.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that good pick. Yeah, I definitely can't see that movie in a different eye. I mean, who else would have played that kind of role?
Yeah, and then I think another one that doesn't get talked about a lot, that was one of his favorites, was Deadly Voyage, which was an HBO film.
Mm-hmm. In the UK, they would have it be as part of their Screen 2 anthology thing, which is kind of their equivalent of PBS Masterpiece Theater, where they play some kind of movie either made here or foreignly bought and just get jaw-dropping good factual information and acting. And yeah, you don't get enough development of his character, but you get enough to just kind of get a sense that all these immigrants that were coming from like South Africa and jumping on these voyages risked being killed by some of the ruthless smugglers.
I guess when they were filming that, the people who were murdering the immigrants, the stowaways, were like actually on trial at that time. So during breaks between filming, the cast would watch court TV or whatever it was.
Oh, really?
Going on, and follow the development of that trial.
Damn. So get some idea of how they talk and walk just from that, man. That was all the rage then after OJ. Is just like everyone's on trial and everyone's talking about it now.
I went through a phase where I was hooked on watching court TV, and it's right, the whole OJ thing.
I came in a little later in the early 2000s when they were just replaying just unusual true crime movies or some shit like that, and then it's like they briefly utilized the smoking gun back when that was a thing. Then they rebranded themselves as True TV, but I think there's still some kind of version of Court TV that exists out there, and they just play a lot of the Dateline type reruns edited down. Yeah, good pick. I was going to mention that somewhere along the way. John, I'll let you mention a role.
Well, one I just remembered just now. Actually, we watched this episode a few years ago, was his appearance on Burn Notice.
Yeah, he definitely gets the most creepiest intro, because I mean they're like robbing a bank from like a bunch of crooked executives or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Right, and so it's interesting having that kind of extra layering, because there's plenty of career criminals who have made it to the top, but their illegal activities eventually come back to haunt them. And it's just interesting how it's being exposed by these equalizer, this campy version of such, type guys. And I don't think it's the episode where Bruce Campbell robs a bank and shoots off a gun without anyone actually dying, but it's pretty close. It's another chaotic bank heist.
Yep.
Did they actually shoot it in Miami, or was that just they do like they did on some of these other shows where they just filmed some B-roll, but it was filmed in LA?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Sure, they shot some stuff in Miami, not the whole thing, but never know.
Yeah. So what did you like most about that character? My memory's failing me on that one. I know he was on it, and I remember his intro with the typical on-screen text, but I don't really remember what else he did. I remember his henchmen doing a lot of dastardly things.
Yeah, they pretty much would say take over the episode, but those certain scenes when you're talking to Michael Weston that I thought well, particularly interesting and not as cliche like some comedy shows might go. And to me, it was one of the more creative roles he got to play in his later years.
Doesn't he do a lot of scheming in his office when he could just be out there or something like that and just put it out
That's
in the
pretty
open?
Yep, that's
Hell
pretty
of an
much it.
office. Oh, Tom, what's another fun one from a video game or show or movie Andrew has done?
Well, that was kind of the thing. I was kind of balancing out the video game and another movie that I love the concept of, even though the execution did not work. So I've been kind of balancing the two out, but for the sake of keeping it in the visual medium and kind of acting, I'd have to go with Faust.
Oh yeah.
Faust. Yep, that was my intro to him. You should have seen it on one episode. Everyone was telling me about what he actually does. I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't in the sci-fi TV edit.
Oh, you mean the woman melting into the floor and she's just a pile of boobs and yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, that probably got that.
Yeah, it's a classic retelling of the Faust story where somebody makes a deal with the devil, and
Lovecraftian type stuff. It's like a Spanish comic book, even, I think. Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that really jumps out to me is that they take it, they stay true to the original concept, and believe it or not, the devil can't be trusted. After so many times, you would think somebody would pick up on that.
Right.
But the thing about Faust that really jumped out at me was they tweaked it just a little bit. They gave the guy superpowers to avenge a death, and then it comes around, and now a future love interest gets caught in this. So now we have to take the superhero type.
That's right, guys. Blade's not the only horror superhero movie.
That's right. Really, and you have to turn that around and make that into and turn that situation in on itself. That to me was a brilliant thing. I've seen it done. The closest thing I can think of where that kind of direct connection and the little twist would be Ghost Rider, another Marvel horror film classic.
Johnny Blaze. Not Blaze. What's Ghost Rider's name? Fuck.
It's Johnny Blaze.
It is? Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking of Human Torch. My bad. That was Johnny Storm. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
Shit. Okay. Anywho, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Faust. I think what's Faust is interesting is you kind of get a few Lovecraftian or Anne Rice even kind of moments. And what's interesting is, just Brian Usna having worked with Stuart Gordon on Reanimator, as well as a few other kind of out of this world kind of horror anthologies. It was kind of interesting seeing him just tackle it. He just had already done the Dentist movies, so he couldn't do any wrong. Someone was going to pick up his film, and I think it did get a theatrical overseas release, and we only saw it here later, through, I think it was Lionsgate or something distributed on cable, but yeah.
Yeah, didn't Usna also do that TV series Tarzan, or at least the episodes that Andrew was in? I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty
hysterical.
It is. Like,
Hysterical.
I enjoyed the busyness of it.
I think I was even telling the guys one night, I was just like, Tubi had even another Tarzan show on there, and I was just guffawn. It's like, oh my god, they just don't do slow motion even like that anymore. I was just blown away. It's such overacting and commitment. I'm like, by everybody, just confident going around in toga equivalent. Let me look it up. Did he do? Oh my god, that's something.
Yeah. I've got the DVD here. I had to
Oh wow.
rip it onto my computer because it was in European, region 2 format, so I had to had to do a little work to be able to watch it, but I mean, those 2 episodes are hysterical, and they're so. I just have no words. It's worth watching. You can see the Brian Usna element. There's a little body horror stuff, but the budget wasn't really there to support that kind of concept. So the execution is not quite right for the special effects. And
Yep, same guy who worked on From Beyond and
yep,
Roma Santa, the Werewolf Hunter, Rottweiler, and Arachnid, everybody. Dagon, I know many people like. I couldn't really get into that one. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. It was the Tarzan episode. No, not Tarzan. Oh, yeah, you're right.
The series was Tarzan. Yeah, I can't remember.
You are right. Okay.
Episode, but yeah.
He even did the... Did he do the movie, the 2-parter with Divoff? Because it credits him for Conan.
He did do a 2-parter on Tarzan with, Andrew.
Okay, well, damn.
Don't remember the name of those episodes.
Heart of the
I think
Elephant.
it's season 1.
It's literally like the first episode, yeah. Heart of the Elephant.
Oh no, I was thinking the Tarzan one, but yeah, I did see the Conan ones too, and those are also pretty ridiculous.
What would you expect?
So yeah, the TV series Tarzan: The Epic Adventures, and there's a 2-part episode in season 1 that Andrew's the main bad guy in those 2 episodes until he's banished to some hell dimension.
He's like the only one who takes it, really injects any kind of reality into it, because it's even wilder, because like, instead of just being like, what does Tarzan do besides fight people trying to burn down his jungle or steal some kind of gold mine? He's like trying to activate some kind of sci-fi wormhole or some crazy stuff.
Yeah, something weird,
some
like
weird
that.
mad scientist. Like, man, who knew you would see that in a Tarzan, let alone a Tarzan show?
And have any of you seen Andrew's appearances in the Highlander series?
I actually have been meaning to go through that whole thing again.
You should watch those, like especially the one where Andrew plays another immortal who's convinced some Aztec type tribe that he's a god and they're all worshiping him. That's a one, but that's a pretty good episode actually.
They had really good guest stars playing Immortals of the Week, and I think that's what made that show better instead of who's the murderer, who's the...
Yeah, exactly.
And he got to be on there twice. I can't remember what his second role was, but I might have seen a part of it.
The first role, he was an Irish terrorist.
Oh, wow.
And
Here's a kick.
Yeah, that's and he's holding a courthouse hostage, and then the one that he was in a few seasons later was the one where he's an immortal, and getting people to worship him as a god and just being a piece of shit.
That's nice. Oh, okay. Well, this used to play, I believe, on Joe Bob, Monster Vision. Has anyone seen Captured?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen that one.
Same year as Killers in the House, and it was just interesting seeing another kind of part action, part horror, part thriller, just home invasion kind of movie. Because at first, Andrew plays, a thief, and then you kind of feel sorry for him because the guy he's robbing from happens to be a secret psychopath. And this movie, I wasn't too impressed by the filmmaker's other movie he did, but this was a rare gem, diamond in the rough, where it's like, okay, it didn't get much fanfare, but it's not a bad movie. It's really kind of takes a bunch of different moral plot twists and even just a few other things you don't expect to see.
Like they stretched that concept to the breaking point, though.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just about this rich guy who cares more about his car than anyone else, including his wife, and that's the whole movie.
Yeah, and I think I'm told Mancuso is very difficult to work with actor from people who work with him, so I'll leave it there. It is. It gets bonus points for me from having the, Andrew trap himself in the car, and then get his finger, chopped off.
Yeah.
And him having to limp around the rest of the movie, just saying no. Didn't take that much. And who would have thought? Yeah, the wife then steps in and tries to stop her evil husband. And she's like, you know, you're a monster treating this thief who, you know, didn't intend to hurt me. Oh,
Yeah, that was, it had some wild moments. Some
Yep.
weird sexual tension
that's
between.
what was wild too. Yeah, no, and no kissing or embracing. Just one of those is like, I believe you. I'll help you. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, it was odd. Yeah, kind of like oh, what was the other movie that had an odd dynamic like that? Blast, where
oh
Anne
god,
was like another terrorist, but he's holding the
Albert
women's
Pion.
Olympic team hostage, and it seems
man.
like the coach of the women's swim team is more turned on than scared most of the time, and it's like, did the director tell her to do that, or was that like a
Pion.
I don't know what that was. I mean, that was an odd one. I couldn't
Pion
enjoy that
definitely.
movie.
That's what's funny about it. Pion doesn't know how to handle really people
Yeah.
half the time, so he just ends up kind of just winging it. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like you say, funny because more or less he'll end up. You know, that was one of those. There's barely a plot, and yet the actors are kind of just hamming around, and that kind of just makes it all the more fun.
Yeah. Like I love like maybe 80% of that movie, but it has one of the dumbest endings that I've seen.
Oh yeah, Rutger Hauer for the window.
Yeah. But just that whole effect of blowing up.
Oh yeah,
So
it's
it was
trash.
like, oh come on, that's like one of the worst explosion effects I've ever seen.
And this is before they started just putting random flames over a green screen or something, or just CGI. It was just
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it either. It was just like I don't even know that I'm really watching much of a movie anymore. The quality here. Oh man, Sean. I just got his version of Cyborg, I think, coming in the mail.
Ooh.
The version we were supposed to see.
Oh.
It's gonna be interesting. Has anyone seen his Law and Order appearance, SVU,
Yes.
as the Tiger Hunter? Man, he's definitely a scene-stealing guest spot, and it's just wild because you don't even expect to. They keep him very, kind of like Lou Diamond Phillips' character on. You don't expect to see him on the episode, and then when you see him, it's like, whoa, damn, it's just this guy, they're doing a very creative sting operation, and the feds are getting in the way. They're having trouble even just getting any kind of warrant for this because they're not able to obtain some of the evidence there and then. And it's just so wild how it's like they're eating, and then he's saying, yeah, I made it from tiger penis or some shit like that. And it's like Stabler's just so disgusted as he's eating this. Like, man, this guy is not only killing a bunch of people behind the scenes that's connected to a rapper's mansion because he's got a tiger in there, but I mean, yeah, he's butchering these animals and selling them as a different kind of meat. So be careful what you eat. It's a cool arresting scene because then after being interrogated and shot at, he gets his revenge on the guy.
Yeah.
Divoff manages to definitely. He's looking for some sympathy. He's like, "You're a cop. You can't do that." But instead of the whole just over the top fighting and all the other stupid shit the '80s brought in, is like he traps him on a conveyor belt. Just traps him in between as he's just finally handcuffing him and knocking him out. I think he punches him like 5 different multiple times, and Divoff is just like all bloodied up. Oh man, what would I do if I got shot at and had to eat tiger meat? Okie dokie. So, I'm actually not terribly familiar with all the CSI Miami episodes. I've been meaning to go back for that silly thing. Just have that on the background.
That's worth watching. He's only in 4 of those episodes.
Yeah.
He's like a Russian mafia guy who runs like mixed martial arts type gym.
I remember he said in an interview he was impressed by how fast they worked and he forgot his line. And it was one of the few times that Caruso actually just kind of guffawed and just told him his line. And then they just reset. And I don't know why, but Andrew was apparently familiar with his earlier stuff. And so he just kind of, I wouldn't say he felt intimidated, but he felt he had a lot to measure up to. And he's like, no, it's cool. You just forgot a line. Reset. Take it away. And yeah, so 4 episodes, and I think he's like a recurring presence because he's got other people doing his dirty work, threatening the whole team.
Right.
I know he's on a Criminal Minds episode as like a serial killer's dad or something like that, but I gotta read.
Yeah, that's right. Or well, he is the serial.
Oh, he is the serial killer. Okay. My
Yeah.
bad. He's a dad and a serial killer. Okay. Yeah.
There's a sitcom idea for you.
That would be a great sitcom idea. Criminal Minds, gotta love the gore and psychological games.
I just remembered he's on the pilot of The Good Guys, and that's
Oh yeah,
episode. Yeah,
a tango-loving hitman, and that show really was a lot of fun. And
he's like the world's second best assassin.
yeah. John would even love it because it's by the creator of Burn Notice, and they do a lot of the same kind of wacky freeze frame introductions to these wacky people.
Uh-huh.
More or less, it's just kind of even more kind of. It's kind of fun just seeing him, just kind of, just take these unusual roles because I mean, he really can't do any wrong. I think. What's interesting about his guest star roles is he just picks the most unusual ones instead of just the relentless ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the appeal of Andrew, and it is kind of a visual thing, guys. You just got to see it. He worked with a friend of his who later interviewed him, Justin Beam, doing "Fear the Boogeyman" short or something like that, and it.
Oh yeah, you can't kill the boogeyman. It was
Can't kill the boogeyman.
Justin Beam. It was the guy who directed that short.
Yeah, it played like before another movie, and you can see like the rest of it, I guess, in audio format on YouTube, and it's a hell of a introduction narration. John, tell us some funny Air Force One stories. Boris.
Oh God.
As Boris.
It's weird because it's funny because I remember one of the groups that we were in.
Yeah.
He posted a picture of him from that movie. I was like, he was in that movie? I totally forgot. And I watched that movie several times as a kid. So I was like, I have to rewatch it again. And sure enough, he shows up right there.
Very comfortable working alongside Gary Oldman. So, I mean, he really does get some of the best grins before he slaughters a lot of the news reporters. I think that's what's interesting, as well as the Secret Service agents, because I mean, he's just looking for it, and they're looking at him weird, and then he's kind of hiding his smile, and then he's, I've seen it countless times. Get off my plane, but there were some good. Yeah, that was one also many movies where he worked with the Russian actor Elia Valak, and they worked together again in Wishmaster 2, and it's just interesting how they kind of had that kind of dynamic. They're just shouting actual Russian between each other. But he has interesting body language, I think, in all of these roles, and this is no exception in that he you can tell he's getting inside the mind of an executioner. Instead of just being a hammy guy holding a machine gun, he really is like, damn, I would hate to be killed by him. I would be killed in the worst possible way, and he would just enjoy every minute of it. He definitely owes some inspiration to his later appearances in the Call of Duty roles, because same kind of deal. He's a super terrorist, and this is what's cool about this whole series is they do references to other movie blockbusters and have a lot of fun with it, but they had the cast use motion capture, so a lot of their characters look like the actual actors voicing them. And same thing here, you know, you're doing an assassination mission, and it's interesting how you get flashbacks of this guy because he's basically like a renegade World War II general. Ironically, once again, working alongside Gary Oldman. And it's interesting, though. Yeah, it's just he uses a very creepy voice that I would normally kind of probably hear in probably an anime or a Time Crisis type arcade game, and it's like, man, okay, how that voice is just beaming on screen. You got a lot of hell to go for.
Yeah, and that's a key when you're dealing with video games, especially when you're just doing voiceover work. There are so many things you cannot express like you were on a film. You actually have to figure out how things can be said and how a phrase can be turned or what emphasis to put on what word. It takes a special kind of actor to be able to do that. Not everybody can do it, but
right.
Yeah, but to have a guy, a guy who came from who is part Russian and does a Russian guy through a series of these video games. I'm gonna have to say though, I'm afraid he might start getting typecasted. But
who'd have thought?
But the point is that when you don't have that ability to play off of another actor, you're just reading a line. It becomes so much more important to be able to have the inflection, have an idea of how something can be said to maximum impact. So, by all means, the guy deserves a pat in the back and maybe a vodka or two for
he deserves
for being
a Saturn Award, maybe a Tourist World Stunt Award. He deserves an Emmy. Hell, best guest appearance. Do it. I'll mention his crooked cop roles in Extreme Justice and Blue Hill Avenue. You know, one is a Mark Lester B exploitation movie, but Blue Hill is interesting. Just rewatching that, just how he's playing off of his buddy William Forsythe, but it's interesting seeing how Forsythe is the one doing all the executioning and game plans and stuff. And it's interesting for him because he's just getting in the guy's face while he's kind of just, again, he's taking the girlfriend hostage, but it's interesting here, he's not even doing anything or saying much or even saying a racial slur, but he means so much with saying very little. So he's got a good subtext script. And it's just interesting. He's like, your kind has no idea what they're in for, or some shit like that. It's like,
Yeah.
your kind, saying that to a black gang, damn, who you're not only trying to forge an arrest over, but also trying to set them up against, Macbeth style and doing all this other just stuff. Is like, man, these are very manipulative dickheads who are just trying to own every block that they're on, And I mean, they even go into a barber shop and say some other just off-colored things, and it's like, well, yeah, no, we shouldn't have asked you guys at all. It's just like, man, is that they're saying enough that they can legally get away with and just say, yeah, no, I never said that. This is before they had cameras detailing these awful cop activity. But yeah, it's even wild too how the whole forging and ransom doesn't even go the way they expected. So then they're just like, whoa, damn, that was our way of just probably, for all we know, had it gone their way, they basically could have easily just fled the country and lived in retirement with all the stolen gangster money they were trying to loiter. But damn.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool seeing William be the blunt guy and Andrew being the reserved guy who's just kind of the right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll mention a movie Erica was fortunate enough to review, Demons.
Oh yes. Yeah, that one is relatively recent. I feel like his character in that had a lot of depth, and there was some interesting twists.
And he's throughout the movie. You know, the hatred he's only in like the first few minutes. So
Yeah, which is like, I don't know, he should have definitely had a bigger part in that film, because I think he was like the strongest part of the hatred, but I'm biased, so
yeah, well, I was kind of struggling with the hatred as well because it was just like, you know, even though the production value was there, it's just the interest kind of went out the window before the first act was even over. So yeah, Demons was interesting because, you know, he got to play like a former like German kind of role. If I'm not mistaken.
oh, that was in the hatred. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fuck.
the
Okay.
Yeah.
Demons, he played.
He's a religious nutcase.
That's right, and he doesn't even have much dialogue until like near the end, and it's just him seeing. That's right, seeing him go through the field, kind of almost gave me kind of a Jim Jones, Charles Manson kind of feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell he definitely saw some kind of true crime documentary or some kind of inspiration. He just kind of just was looking at him like, you're never leaving this place.
Mhm.
So, King of Expressions, Andrew. Where would I be without Night of the Living Dead 3D reanimation? Totally.
Probably a lot better off.
Yeah, very better off. But man, had he not been in there, basically going all Dwayne Jones shotgun happy, I don't think I would have made this for this movie. He definitely gets almost as big a kill count as Wishmaster. I counted 55 people getting shotgun from the blast.
Yeah, and that movie has Jeffrey Combs, which also helps it.
Yeah, there you go. Foster reunion, and I think the filmmaker passed away. And I know they're credited as executive producers. I think that just means that they added a lot to their role because it's interesting. Really, the whole movie is a slog. It's got some random political humor in it. I heard some people. I remember on IMDb some people saying on message boards that they worked as crew and they weren't paid. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty petty. I'm not cool with that. Unless you state that from the beginning and no one's getting paid. But come on. Be an unpaid best player or whatever, unless you're interning, but it's an indie film. No one's everyone's given time. Yeah, the whole movie is a real just mess. The necrophilia and all the other shit. It just feels like leftovers from Return of the Living Dead and all this other crap. And the only stuff that's interesting is seeing them. Andrew's basically nursing his zombie dad back to health, and he's like, "Papa, no, don't eat him." And just the way he says that with such conviction, as like anyone else would have just been like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna go pull up Pacino and just go, hoo-ha. And that shotgun, man. It's such some goofy Photoshop that comes out of the shotgun. But Divoff sells it. I think I even have some photos back when I ripped that off of Mega Upload, I think, back in the day.
Which, again, was completely legal. We got those legally, kids.
Totally legal. Totally. Oh, man. Movies. But yeah, if he wasn't in that shithole, I don't think anyone would ever watch the movie. I'm sure he has a funny story about it. Does he ever talk to you about that, or does he just go, move along?
Oh, that movie, well, there's like a whole other story with it. Like, he's never complained about the content of the film, but he really got screwed with his part of the investment. Like, I think he was a producer on that, and he never got paid anything for it.
That's bullshit. I thought he was
so
just
yeah, that's like a whole other issue.
So,
that
because he
and
got
I
ripped
feel
off.
okay mentioning it because he has referenced that in some public interviews. But yeah, he was never got paid royalties for it, or you know, whatever percentage he was owed for for investing money in that project. I think that was one of only 2 films where he was a co-producer, the other one being Faust.
Yeah. So he just thought it was I think you have the filmmaker to blame for it because he clearly did not market it, or his so-called investments fell through. Because it's like, I don't think it played at any theaters except maybe a private festival screening.
I mean, there should still be some residuals from DVD sales and from it streaming on Netflix, which it did for quite a while. But
Oh,
yeah,
really?
got nothing from it.
There you go. I mean, so unpaid crew members and other stuff. So that tells me, yeah, that that contract was crap. Either way, I don't think that guy's ever making a movie ever again because I think he passed away or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. But
Let me look it up.
into that.
Yeah, he and Combs really play well off of each other, just as the funeral home directors. That's kind of why it's just fun. It's a bad horror movie that you just gotta just have fun with. Oh boy. John, did you see this?
No, I didn't even know he did that one, honestly.
Oh god.
God.
Reanimation. If they weren't in it, I would have never even seen it in the first place. That was before we were back into zombie movies.
When are you going to learn to leave the dead alone?
God.
You would think after seeing these number of movies with the same kind of premise, they would say, you know what, maybe this is a bad idea.
Right. My bad. It's Regeneration, I think. Still just as bad. Same difference.
Yeah.
God, I'm trying to look it up. It's not popping up. Come on, guys. Is that filmmaker still alive? Oh, shit. I'll just go to his page. But yeah, it was 2012. Yeah, and that's when movies were getting very schlocky, some of the independent ones. I'll take it over Ballistica or Magic Man, that is for sure.
Oh my god.
Oh, jeez.
Ballistica.
That is not a movie. And Paul Logan could be decent and other stuff. Okay, my bad. The filmmaker's still alive. Okay, he previously did the Strawn House.
Oh, okay.
Asylum Crap Fest with Divoff, which I haven't seen yet, but it's on my shelf.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, that movie is a total shit show. But, you know, Andrew's good in it. That's, like, typical, though, where he's the best part of that. He's some kind of mad scientist type who's injecting unwilling participants with some serum. And I think it might have been one of Karen Black's last films, if I recall correctly. So I mean,
think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just too bad it's not a better film.
Right. Oh, man.
But yeah, compared to the Strawn House at Night of the Living Dead 3D, it was like Casablanca.
Reanimation.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yep. Well, that's basically all I got for now, folks. Actually, no, I take that back. Magic Island. Did anyone ever see this back in the day on Disney Channel?
Yeah, I think that's his only sort of kid-friendly movie.
Yeah, it was done for full moons. They had a kid-centered division called Moonbeam. Haha. But
yes,
this was back when Nickelodeon and Disney would take movies from other companies and actually have them be part of their programming. And I think it re-aired on Jetix or something. It's a fun movie. And what's funny is I brought it up with my sister, and she's like, I think I might have seen that. You know, Dave Faustino from Married with Children briefly appears there. You know, and not briefly, he is the lead. Yeah, it's just cool seeing him play another Blackbeard kind of guy, and he really does get some amusing lines. And it's a watchable kids movie instead of just being stupid. This is around the time everyone had to be like Home Alone, and it's like, stop it already. And then no Home Alone here. Just people around on an island and not too goofy a score or narration. So I'm like, okay, I can dig it. He gets a wacky fall, not to his death, but just like a wacky fall at one point, if I'm not mistaken. I know Badass Badass 2, Badasses is definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
That he
is.
modeled it after Beverly Hills Cop, and the unit guest spot is cool because I mean you're spouting out David Mamet type dialogue. He's playing, and it's a realistic kind of, not necessarily a traitor, but a subterfuge kind of role. Just that's what a mole does. A mole shows up at the most unexpected moment and isolates the other person they're trying to obtain and interrogate information from. He's on a great episode of Nikita where he plays a bodyguard of a kid whose parents have been, massacred, but he's basically become the main father figure, ironically, because he's just so close to the kid he's guarding. And, okay there?
Yeah, there's some persistent rustling sound or scraping.
Tom, are you ripping one? What are you doing?
I'm doing nothing.
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing some.
Yeah, I'm doing that too.
Maybe it's my beard. I don't know.
I guess so. Breathing into the mic. I don't know. I will say, Erica and I saw the movie Vault, and it was kind of disappointing that he wasn't a bigger part of that heist movie because it was inspired by actual events. And
I guess they shot more with his character, but for some reason, most of his scenes were cut out to the point there was no point in even him being there, really. So, I mean, I think he was a little disappointed too.
Yeah, it's just because he was the guy who would kind of help pick the vault, and as well as just determine if it was in there. Just he uses like almost a stethoscope kind of thing, and it's like that's kind of cool. And I mean, he even was in a promo image I saw of everyone all dressed up, and was like, I must confess, I'm not the biggest Theo Rossi fan after Sons of Anarchy, but
oh yeah,
but Clive stand-in from Vikings was pretty good there with a Doug His 70s type wig and progressive girlfriend. It's an interesting 70s tale, but it's kind of a slow burn noir thing. It would never make his top 10 movies, but it was interesting seeing what stuff did make the final cut. But yeah, I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. I thought I had another video game or short film reference, but UC Undercover. I'm trying to get the whole series from a site that.
Oh yeah, I have not with that either.
That was another hostage taker type episode. So I think we're out of we nuked this one, guys. I thank you all for being on here, and sorry for my being late at first. Other than that, where can we find you on the interwebs nowadays, Erica?
You can find me at myhorrificlife.com and on Instagram at myhorrificlife. And also, please check out Andrew Divoff's craft beer company, 3 Marm Brewing.
Woo!
M-A-R-M, which is lager jargon because he and some friends in the San Bernardino Mountains were part of a logging crew together.
Nice.
So they've been doing pretty well with beer sales, but it's all been pretty much local to Southern California, and they want to expand, eventually to the rest of the United States. Of course, COVID's made that more difficult, but if you live in SoCal or if you go to socal.beer and look for 3 Marm Brewing, you might be able to get some of the beer in the mail. So please consider.
It's been a while since I looked it up. Free Mar Brewery.
Yeah, 3 THREEMARM brewing.com. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think even Tumblr. Not that Tumblr gets a lot of action, but there is an account there.
Nice. I will definitely give that a follow. I'm not a drinker, but I'm thinking of actually surprising my parents with something like that. Yep, Instagram's the first one that pops up.
Excellent.
John, what do you got reviewing next?
Well, hopefully, I'll be able to watch one that will possibly coming out in a few weeks. I'm not gonna say what it is, but you might know since I talked about it with you. So, see.
Okay. Tom, what are you doing on the side of stuff? Are you doing any blogging or?
No, not really. If you're on Facebook, you can find me in a few different cool little groups there. Like I belong to one that deals with 50s and 60s B science fiction movies. Deep 13 House of MST3K. I'm big there, but my main one is always Riff Picks. If you need a laugh, go to Riff Picks. They will. If one line doesn't make you laugh, somebody else will definitely do it. And I can't recommend it enough. If you're depressed after you leave it, it's your own fault.
You say so. Careful what you wish for. So this was fun, just tackling a lot of his stuff. I hope he hears this, or I'll get it edited ASAP. Other than that, I don't think he can do any wrong at this point. I think he's always gonna find some way to just sneak into one of those movies and have a gotcha moment. I think what's more interesting is just his life's journey and just kind of also just taking in what kind of roles he was doing at first versus what he's doing now. And his roles have kind of slowed down, and hopefully he can get maybe some, it'd be cool if he was in some kind of horror anthology, or if he even could be in some other kind of ultimate movie. Maybe get some, maybe I don't know, just something better. Maybe a voiceover role. Yeah, he might get some attention from that. I don't know. Till then, I mean, I think everyone's thankful of the career he's had and being introduced to him. There's something to just love about him.
Yeah, you kind of want to see him succeed. That's one of the things I love about him. He just keeps doing what he's doing, and he keeps moving up the ladder a little bit, and you want to root for the guy.
Yeah.
For sure. Other than that, thank you all for joining in on the action and good role suggestions.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time.
Ah.
Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We may talk about video games,
Music.
Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yeah, yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair say all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
popping up at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was going to be a rough
How could you watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our queue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-liner plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zamenhof.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VD Clinic Pod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VD Clinic Pod, or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show.